Hey guys, welcome to weeks 5 and 6 of Precision Nutrition. This is your third strategic step, so we're working on eating until 80% full. Now, this may seem a little overwhelming at first, like you're unsure of what exactly that means or how you know when you're to 80% full. So I'm going to talk today about a few things that can help you better understand your appetite and hunger cues and better know when you are to 80% full. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that appetite is a psychological and physiological response. So our environment and our biology both come into play when it comes to our appetite and the foods that we crave. Appetite is very different from hunger. Hunger is something that is a physical, innate within your body. You must eat. Appetite is a response, interpreting your social environment, what you think you may be feeling on the inside, and deciding that you have the appetite for something, not exactly that you're hungry for something. But unfortunately, our appetite and hunger can be trumped by our environment. So social settings or situations such as birthday parties or group outings, even cues from our oral environment. So if something tastes good or has a texture that you enjoy or a scent that you enjoy, you may feel an appetite for that, regardless if you're actually hungry or not. In fact, we even favor certain colors of foods, so packaging of certain candies or colors of very palatable foods may make you feel that you have an appetite for them or that you're hungry, but our goal is to determine the difference between hunger and appetite. Everyone overeats. We overeat, especially in social situations with each other. We have many food options, more than we need. There are supersize options at McDonald's, there's buffets everywhere, so we are trying to fight a cultural paradigm, and that makes it very difficult, but I want to give you all the tools I can to help you make it through. If we tend to eat when we're not hungry, it's a slight distraction, a distraction that we're hoping to feel happier if we eat, emotionally overeating or just emotionally eating, but it's a vicious cycle. When you eat when you're bored or feeling emotional, you do that to feel full or happy, but it doesn't happen. So we keep eating. So it's very important to avoid emotional eating or having a emotional connection with food. On the flip side, if we don't eat when we are hungry, our body is going to get back at us later by driving up those actual hunger cues because you're physically hungry and making you eat more than you probably would have eaten in the first place. When an infant eats, they eat because they're hungry. They may not finish their bottle, even though there's a whole bottle there, because they're full. They have mindful and intuitive eating habits. That's how we want to be able to eat. We want to be mindful and intuitive about what we're eating. Eating in this way promotes both physical and psychological well-being. We have a healthy relationship with food on one hand, and we're eating slower, allowing our digestion to occur at a better rate on the other. So when we're finally able to discard the idea of bad food and just eat when we're hungry, it can totally remove the punishing cycle of restrictive eating and then gorging later. So what are the components of mindful and intuitive eating? Component number 1, you have an unconditional permission to eat. You need to eat. You need to fuel your body. When you're hungry, don't be scared to eat. Weight loss is not exactly about calories in, calories out. If you eat less, you're going to be hurting your body more. So, you have permission to eat, you must eat. Number 2, eat for a physical purpose, not an environmental or an emotional purpose. You want to eat because you're hungry and because you need to for the fuel that you need for your body. Focus on internal satiety and hunger cues. Try to separate yourself from external cues of boredom or emotions to fuel your eating. Eat when you feel hungry and become really in tune to what that means for you personally. When we don't eat the right amount of foods, our body tries to maintain homeostasis and self-regulate. So, if you don't eat enough, your body may make you binge later. Again, your body doesn't understand what's happening and it's trying to protect you and keep you safe. So, it's going to eat as much as it can when the next food or meal comes because it thinks there is a lack of food. On the flip side, if you're overeating hyper-palatable foods That's a big word for junk food, essentially. Your body will say, wow, this is great. Eat more just in case there's a famine later. Now, I'm downplaying that, but essentially the hormones and neurological responses going on between your food and your mind will make you eat more and more, which is also negative. In the end, mindful eating asks, am I hungry? Do I need this right now? What are my hunger cues telling me? Mindful and intuitive eaters simply appreciate food. They don't mind taking their time to eat and understand that the food is important for their body and it's not an emotional or social response. So I'm going to break it down into physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physically, what should you be feeling? Are you shaky or irritable? Is your stomach growling? Do you feel slightly lightheaded? These are physical signs of hunger. Are you thinking, I want to eat this or I need to eat this? Are you plowing through your food and not even realizing that you're eating? If your eating routine that you made for yourself is disrupted, are you angry because of a change in habit? Or are you angry because you're genuinely hungry and need that food right now? And lastly, emotionally. When you go to eat, are you feeling upset, sad, angry? You might want to take note of this and be sure that your eating isn't being influenced by your emotional feelings. I'm going to leave you guys with this. Hunger is not an emergency. It's actually okay to be hungry from time to time. It may be good for you to really help you narrow in on your hunger cues. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to try to eat until we're 80% full, stopping before you're absolutely stuffed and uncomfortable. Keep in mind physical cues, mental cues, and emotional cues. This will help you realize where you're at. Whenever we're eating to 80% full, it's also important to know how you feel after the meal. Take note of 1 hour, 2 hours, and then 3 to 4 hours after. Immediately after to 1 hour, you shouldn't feel hungry. Around 2 hours, there could be some hunger cues setting in, and around 3 to 4 hours, you should really be feeling those physical hunger cues and be ready to eat again. If you don't feel those hunger cues by 3 to 4 hours, you overate. If you feel those hunger cues by 2 hours or 1 hour, you're undereating and you probably need to up your protein. So, for these next 2 weeks, focus on your eating, try to eat to 80% full, and you'll do great.